What is up, homies? My name is Felix and I'm here back again with another video for you all today. And in this one I am going to be making a how to hide your hair because it's way too long tutorial. Just kidding. Today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make some UK drill / New York drill pop smoke kind of style beats inside of FL Studio, and hopefully you guys will be able to follow along perfectly fine. Make sure you guys check out my Instagram and my SoundCloud down in the description below, along with the playlist of songs I've produced, my beat store, my Discord, all that stuff. Go check it out if you want to. And now we can get into this video. Alright, so I'm inside FL Studio now and I'm just gonna get right into this tutorial. So the first couple things that are kind of important with these beats is that you want to have your tempo kind of right around 140. Like 135-ish to 145-ish is a pretty good tempo. So for this one I'm gonna put the tempo at 143. And now we can get into selecting some drums. So I'm gonna need headphones for this. So when you're choosing your drums for these beats, you have a little bit of freedom. You can honestly pick whatever drums you want, but there tends to kind of be a trend of using like a rim shot or something for the snare, not really using too many claps. These style of beats don't usually have claps in them, but then again, it's like a preference thing. Also, you want to have a pretty hard kick, and then you want to have some hi-hats that are like pretty light sounding, and then you want to have like a pretty banging 808, something that you can slide pretty well. So I'm gonna pick a couple drum sounds right now and show you what I mean. Alright, so the sounds that I have gathered here sound like this. I got a little rim shot in here, a little backup snare, you know, I had to go with the spins 808. And then I have this hi-hat right here, and this is the kind of hi-hat that I was talking about. It's pretty short and not really super metallic sounding, if you know what I mean. One trick that you can do to make your hi-hats kind of better for this genre is to take this little out thing right here when you double click on the sample and then just turn it up. And that'll just make your hi-hat sample much shorter and it'll fit a lot better with this kind of style. So for this one, I'm actually gonna start with the drums instead of the melody. I usually start with the melody, but we're gonna switch it up here today because these beats rely very heavily on the drum patterns. It's a very, you know, kind of unique, specific sound with these drums. So with your rim or your snare, clap, whatever you've chosen, you're basically just gonna put it here. And then we're also gonna add the kick in. So your whole rhythm and your bounce with these type of beats is really gonna come from your kick and your hi-hat. You really wanna get that kind of like punchy, stuttery kind of feel with your hi-hats and your kicks. So with the kick, you can have like a pretty basic pattern, but your hi-hats, you're gonna make them real complicated and real bouncy and stuff so that we can get that kind of like unique UK New York drill bounce. So I'm just gonna do the kick pattern like this. So now that we have that, I'm gonna move on to the hi-hats. And with the hi-hats, we want to create that bounce like I was talking about. So we're not just gonna do, you know, a basic two-step hi-hat because that's just gonna sound like any other normal beat, as you can hear. So what we're gonna do is just take this simple two-step pattern and then we're gonna take out things as we need to so we can kind of get that bounce. And then after that, we're gonna add in all the little rolls and things to make it more spicy, you know? So what I'm gonna do is take out this one and then I'm gonna move this one to here. And as you can hear, that kind of stuttery feel is what we're going for. So I'm just going to do kind of repeating patterns of that and different like variations of that. So right now I have the same two bars just repeated, and I'm gonna make some variations now and do those like, you know, different pitched little rolls and stuff. So I just made this 2-bar pattern here, and I basically just added little lower pitch rolls that kind of add to the bounce a little bit more, and it sounds like this. And now I'm gonna do Control B and copy this over and then just add some slight variations on this side. You want your hi-hats to have a good amount of bounce, but you don't want them to be all over the place. Like you don't want them to just be completely incoherent and not have any sort of bounce or rhythm. So I'm gonna hit Alt R, and then this is just gonna randomize the velocities a little bit to make it a little bit more human sounding. Also, another thing that you might hear in these beats pretty often is if you go to Control and then Note Pan, you can select these and then kind of pan them a little bit into your left and right ears. So we can go like this. Not anything crazy, just a little bit of some panning going on. And if you have headphones or speakers, you'll hear that it sounds like this now. So yeah, you can do that if you want to, but personally, I'm just gonna leave it at a normal panning because I'm not a big panning guy myself. But actually, the last thing about this that you may have noticed and I didn't even really mention is that these lower pitched hi-hats and everything, you can see that the velocity is a little bit lower. And I like to do that when I do my hi-hat rolls and stuff because it just gives it a little bit more natural feel. So yeah, basically now that we have this, I am going to go in and add the open hat, which I think I wanted to add right here. So now that we have that, you can also add in a little backup snare. And what I like to do with this is turn the out up as well so that it's a little bit shorter. What I'm gonna do leading right into the first rim is I'm gonna add a little bit of a snare roll. So it's gonna sound like this. And I like that kind of sound, it's pretty cool, that's a nice little touch. So now we have our snares going on and the whole drum pattern sounds like this now. And now I'm gonna go into doing the melody, and then we're gonna come back to the 808, because the 808, you really want to treat it like it is a melodic instrument, which it is a melodic instrument, but sometimes people don't really treat it as it is. So I'm gonna bring up, let's just go with sector. I'll probably use sector and then expand, and I don't even really like sector that much, but I'm just gonna use it today. So when it comes to your melody, there's like quite a few different options that you can do, but the main thing that you want to keep in mind is that you want your melody to kind of sound like pretty creepy, kind of spooky, a little bit atmospheric sounding. And the way you're gonna do that is with some minor chords, a few diminished or augmented chords. You can set your scale highlighting to harmonic minor by going to the piano roll and then going to helpers, scale highlighting, and then you can right click. Make sure you right click, because I've always left clicked, and what it does is it like exits you out of the thing. But if you right click, it does not do that, which is super nice. And I think the spookiest kind of scale that you can get is D harmonic minor or D sharp harmonic minor, one of those two. But either way, any harmonic minor is going to give you the sound that you're looking for. All right, so this is the little chord progression that I came up with, and it sounds pretty spooky and pretty nice sounding. So I think I'm gonna try to make a second half of this to make it 8 bars. So that's a little bit longer and doesn't get too repetitive. And then after I finish this pattern, I'm gonna show you a cool little trick that you can use for your melodies. So we got the second half of the melody, just some slight variations here. I added a few shorter notes in between those like higher pitched notes on top of the chords to kind of transition a little bit better. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to bring this to the top, and now I'm gonna do Control L. And now we have this in a mixer. And now we can go down here to this little dot, click on it, and now do Alt R. And now this will render our thing as an audio clip instead of just like a MIDI file. And now if you go to your song editor, you can see these little tabs here, and our sample is gonna be right here. And what we can do is hit Control E, and this will open it in Edison. And now what we can do is we can right click on it, go to Format, Edit Properties, and now it'll bring up this little screen right here. And we can change the sample rate to 8,000. And now make sure you hit resample. And now it'll sound like this. It kind of just lowers the quality a bit, and basically what it does is it just makes sure that there's no high end at all getting through. So that's kind of a good thing because it gives it more of like an eerie sound. So I'm gonna click this and drag it in here. And now you can click on the cut tool, and now hold down shift, and now right click right here. It'll get rid of that end part. And now if you want to, because we made that into an audio clip, we can just get rid of this plugin to save CPU and everything. So replace and then delete. And make sure that you don't go here and just hit delete, because you might want that MIDI pattern. So keep the MIDI pattern, just change it to like a sampler or something. So now I'm gonna put like an ARP or something with the same chords, just to kind of give it something different and have another layer in there. So we're gonna go into expand for that. So I found this little ARP inside expand, and I'm gonna use it because I think it'll fit pretty well. So yeah, that sounds quite nice. And now I'm going to add this to a mixer track, and then I'm just gonna add everything else to a mixer track as well. So what I think I wanna do here with these sector strings is make this one lower pitch. So I'm gonna make a duplicate one, and now make unique, and then pitch this all the way down. And now I'm gonna take this one and just maybe like splice in some little sections here or something. Okay, so for the melody, we have this going on right now. And in my head, I'm hearing like some creepy chorus, choir kind of thing over this. So I'm gonna go into Spitfire Audio Labs and get some nice chorus vocals from there. So I just added this chorus, choir, whatever from Spitfire Audio Labs. Sounds like this. I just basically copied the exact same chords that I've been using this whole time. So for the melody, there's two last things that I'm kind of thinking in my head that I want. One of them is that kind of really dramatic church bell. You guys know, like the tubular bell, the one that, you know, you hear, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And then the other thing is some staccato, I think staccato is the word, some staccato strings. So I'm probably gonna add those things in and see how that sounds. Okay, so I added the things that I said I was going to add, and now the whole thing sounds like this. It's gonna be a little messy because we're not gonna have these all playing at the same time, but for now, here's them all playing at the same time. So this sounds pretty nice, pretty dope, pretty swag. So really the final thing that we need to do is add an 808. So with the 808, the big thing that everybody knows about is the slides. So we're just going to bring in this pattern. I told you it would come in handy. So we're gonna do copy, and then we're gonna paste it in here. And now we're gonna use the bass notes of this to figure out our 808 pattern. Then make sure you do cut itself. So I'm just gonna play the drums, and then I'm going to play only the main strings. All right, so I wanna have an 808 slide right before the second kick in the pattern hits. So the way that you do that super easily is you just hit S on your keyboard, and now it'll create a slide note. And then if you wanna just place a regular note, you can hit S again, and you can place all the regular notes that you want. So I want this slide to be kind of like descending. So I'm gonna have it like this. And then I'm gonna have it go down one more note after that. Kind of like that. I think that sounds good. Also, with your slides, what you can do is you can make the time that it slides to the next note shorter or longer. So if you want it to be longer, you can just drag this out. Or if you want it to be really short, you can go like this. And if you do that, you can barely even hear the slide. So I like to have it kind of like around here. So I'm gonna finish out this 808 pattern. I'm gonna add some slides here and there. So with your slides, you wanna make sure that you get a good bounce in there. And if you wanna create a good bounce, one thing you can do is to not have it hit only when the kick hits. Have there be a slide or a higher pitched note like right before the kick hits or something like that, and that'll give you kind of a better bounce. All right, so here is our little 808 slide pattern now, and it sounds like this. Basically what I'm gonna do is copy this over to make an 8-bar pattern, and usually with my 808s I don't put an 8-bar pattern, but because there's a lot of slides and stuff and it's pretty busy, I wanna kind of try to keep it from getting too repetitive, so I'm just gonna add some slight little variations here and there. Also, one thing that I feel like I shouldn't really have to mention for most of you, but for some of you out there, make sure that all of your 808s are in tune and everything, because when you're doing these slides, if you're doing it way out of key, that is just not gonna sound good. Anything that's out of key is usually not gonna sound good, but especially with your 808s, it's very important that you tune your 808s and you make sure these slides are all in the same key. So at this point, we pretty much have the whole beat finished. The other thing that I'm gonna do now is basically just go in and mix all of these little melodic components. I'm gonna put some EQ on them, EQ out some of the low end, EQ out some of the high end if need be. I'm gonna put some reverb on them, just do a couple little touch-ups here and there, and then after that, we're gonna lay out the beat, and then we'll be pretty much done. Okay, so I just did some basic EQing and everything, added some reverb, just like I said, pretty much. So essentially, my game plan for laying out the beat is I'm gonna have just the main strings start off in the beginning, and then just have different variations of certain instruments being taken out, put back in, certain drums being taken out, put back in, just to keep it nice and fresh and stop it from being too repetitive. So basically the way that I have it right now is that I have, like I said, these strings in the beginning, and then I have pretty much everything drop in right here, and then I have this part with the strings. But yeah, I'm gonna take this and then pretty much just copy it over, and then it'll be pretty much done. All right, so that's pretty much gonna do it for this drill beat tutorial in FL Studio. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you're able to follow along perfectly fine. Let me know if you have any questions down in the comments below. Make sure you guys check out my Instagram and my SoundCloud down in the description below, along with the playlist of songs I've produced, my beat store, my Discord, all that stuff. You guys already know the vibes. And yeah, I will see you guys next time.
I've been laying low, waiting for the payroll. Once I get it